Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This is the July 24th, 2014 meeting of the East Fishkill Town Board. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We have a few announcements tonight. One of our announcements has to do with our Chief of Police. Recently, our Chief of Police sent to myself and the Town Board a letter indicating his desire to retire. So I told Brian I would read that tonight. Brian can't be with us tonight, unfortunately, but I will read his letter. Dear Supervisor, I formally wish to notify the Town Board of my intent to retire from the position of Town of East Fishkill Police Chief, effective August 31st, 2014. I am sincerely thankful to the Town Board for having the faith in me to grant me a police officer position on April 11th, 1983. From the very beginning, I took my position seriously and set my goals to advance through the ranks of the police department. In September of 1992, the Town Board appointed me to the position of Chief of Police. I am still humbled every day that the board chose me to be the representative of such an important and prominent position. Over the last 22 years, the numerous town board members, the past and present town supervisors, the police department staff, and I have molded the police department into a state-accredited, technologically advanced professional organization second to none. I am proud to have been a part of such a great group of individuals and exemplary department. While it is a hard decision to leave my long-held post, I am confident the Town of East Fishkill Police Department, from its officers to the current supervisory staff, will use a strong foundation, expertise, and professionalism that my tenure has brought to the department to carry itself forward successfully into the future. It is now time for me to spend more time with my family and to pursue other ventures. I will miss the police department greatly, and I will always consider myself a member of the Town of East Fishkill Police Department. Respectfully, Brian C. Nichols, Chief of Police. So our chief has submitted his letter of retirement, and I cannot say more about our police department. I'm so proud of the men and women that serve in the East Fishkill Police Department. What Brian has done and what his staff and everybody and every one of our people in the police department have done is just phenomenal. Very proud of you all. And I think, and I know I can speak for the board on this, we need to move forward together as one unit, maintain the terrific performance and the high standards that we've always had. Terrific department, and I didn't know that he started in 1983. It's a long time ago, but very proud of our police department and very proud of our chief of police, and kind of sad to see him go. But as things happen, we will move on. So. That being said, I just want to read Brian's letter to the public. I do have a couple of other announcements tonight before we get going. Just a couple of short comments. Over at IBM, we're still building chips. I'm very happy about that. You know, this July, we're always waiting for this big announcement. Nothing has happened, but we are still manufacturing chips. The town board and I are taking concrete, very fundamental steps to move forward to allow redevelopment of the IBM complex, the IBM site, and we're going to make it a much more viable site, a much more flexible site. And I think the things that we're doing in the next few weeks, next probably 2-3 months, are going to set a good foundation for where we go in the future, no matter what happens with IBM, because they're our largest employer. But we have to make sure that we're going to be okay, and I think that we have a good plan in action, a good plan set to do just that. So I'd like to just mention IBM. We're still making chips. I check every day. The light's still on over there. So also a while back, I did have a meeting with Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney. Actually, it was an hour-long meeting with Congressman and his staff. A very productive meeting. Congressman is very interested in the town of East Fishkill. We only talked about 2 projects. We talked about a lot of subjects. The 2 projects that we spoke about were the Hopewell Precision Superfund site and the Hillside Lake projects that we have set forward for Superstorm Sandy funding. The congressman assured me that he's on board with whatever he can do to help us. And as far as the Hopewell Precision Superfund site, it's very important to remember we still have a Superfund in the town of East Fishkill. There will be the federal government's going to meet, there's a priority Superfund board that will meet probably in August to take a look, setting the priority sites that will be funded this year. We're very hopeful that our Hopewell Precision site is on that list, so we're just kind of waiting to see. But in the meantime, we've been working with the EPA. We've been doing design. They've been working along with us, doing their own design work, and we're moving forward. So we're just waiting to see what the priority board has to say. If they rule in our favor, this is going to be a great thing. Speaking of Hopewell Precision, I did want to mention also that a while back when Hopewell Precision, the source of water for Hopewell Precision was being looked at, Beekman Water was identified as the source. So unfortunately, it's a privately held system. So when we contacted Beekman Water, the owner of Beekman Water decided I think his starting price was $7 million. I think we started at probably $1.5 million. So there's quite a difference between what he thought it was worth and what we thought it was worth. With the acquisition of the Cannon property, the development of the well fields over there, and with the EPA deciding that this is a more viable site to take the water from, the owner of Beekman Water has actually come back, and he's offered us a package deal where we would buy the water and the sewer, and he's going to throw in a conservation easement, and I believe the price is now $2.75 million, which is a much more reasonable price. So this is something, we're doing our due diligence to see if this is actually a good price for this, but he has a huge amount of water up there. The sewer system has been operating for some years, but we're going to be bringing this to the board once we do our due diligence. And if it's an acquisition that we feel that we should make, it may be a good opportunity for us. So we'll be bringing that to the board, most likely September, October timeframe. And speaking of the October timeframe, September-October timeframe, at the September workshop, we're going to be revisiting our laws on economic redevelopment in the priority redevelopment zone. So we're going to be kind of busy going forward. We're always kind of busy around here, I do want to say. And speaking of that, at the last meeting I was asked about, is the town going to contribute to the Julie's Jungle project? And I misspoke, and I did misspeak on that. Yes, the town will be contributing to the Julie's Jungle project. Quite a few months ago, I think the town board authorized $100,000 match to the Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant, who's going to contribute $100,000. We're also going to contribute $100,000 out of the Rec Development Fund. So I just wanted to clarify that. Excuse me. It was just an oversight on my part. And one last thing, just speaking about Julie's Jungle, which I really think is just one of the best projects we could ever do in the town. It was at fireworks. Well, we had our fireworks on the 6th of July this year, and because of the rain on the 4th. And I was out in the field before the fireworks, and there's a lot of kids out there. And there's a little kid in a wheelchair. He's strapped in a wheelchair, and his mother's pushing him around. And he's got brothers and sisters and cousins with a little Nerf football, and they're throwing the football to him. And I saw that, and I said to myself, you know what? This is what Julie's Jungle is all about. So, I mean, I was really touched to see the family playing, and you should have seen his look on his face. So, I got to tell you, I support Julie's Jungle 100%, and just a project very, very thrilled about, and looking forward to seeing that happen. That's it for my announcements tonight. I did want to ask Councilman Franco, I know you had something that Rec Director Green asked to read.
Yes, who's here, by the way. This is from Bill Green, the Recreation Director. Our summer camp has been running very smoothly. Brad Brengel and our assistant directors and staff of counselors are doing an excellent job. I would like to thank the East Fishkill Rotary, the Hopewell Ladies Auxiliary, the East Fishkill PBA, and the East Fishkill Community Day Fund for providing financial assistance to some town youngsters, making it possible for them to attend this fun program. The camp runs through Thursday, August the 14th. Thanks again, Bill. You do a great job.
And I have to echo Bill Green, our rec director, does a terrific job, and, it's so touching, like the young boy that I saw in the park. And then also we see people are economically disabled that cannot actually afford to go to camp. And to have people or groups step forward and say, here, we'll make it possible for you, I just think it's a terrific thing. So thank you, Councilman, and Bill, thank you very much for everything you do. That's it under announcements. Town Clerk Correa, would you please call the roll?
Councilperson Cassidy?
Here.
Councilperson D'Alessandro?
Present.
Councilperson Franco?
Present.
Councilperson Marinaro?
Present.
Supervisor Hickman?
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, you've distributed the minutes of the June 26, 2014
Yes, I did.
meeting to the Town Board. Has there been any additions, comments, or changes?
There was one small change that we corrected, so,
And it's been corrected?
yes, it has.
Okay. Then do I have a motion to approve the minutes for June 26, 2014 as corrected?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I should have asked this first. Wasn't a major correction, right?
No.
You didn't change the whole paragraph or anything like that, right? Okay, just checking. I should have asked that first. Thank you very much. All righty, under receipt and file, we have comments from Dutchess County Planning regarding economic redevelopment special permit, which actually is part of the laws that we're going to develop with the interest of redeveloping the IBM site. And we did send them up to Dutchess County Planning and Development. Their comments, they listed 3 comments that really seem rather general in it all. So I think I'd ask the attorney, Tom, I don't think there's going to be a problem incorporating these comments into the law that we're going to be doing.
More just they suggested some organization.
Yeah, and I know our planner, Michelle Robbins, is working on that as we speak. So we received comments from Dutchess County Planning. Also, we got a thank you letter from Senator Terry Gibson's office to Chief Nichols regarding the department's help in the investigation to drug distribution in Dutchess County. If I may just read quickly. Dear Brian, I would like to take the opportunity to commend you and your office on the recent success of your 6-month-long investigation into the distribution of heroin here in Dutchess County. The prevalence of these drug transportation and distribution organizations that are responsible for numerous instances of crime and controlled substance abuse in our community is an unfortunate reality. I commend you and your team's continued efforts in fighting this epidemic. Again, thank you and your department for your hard work. If I can be of any assistance, please contact me anytime. Sincerely, Terry Gibson, Senator, 41st District. So again, thank you very much to our police department for everything that they do. That's it for receipt and file. Next is public hearings. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. Public comments on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak?
I want to speak on number 3, increase for MJ. All right. Good evening, gentlemen. I have just handed each of you a handout which will help me talk about this MJM resolution. Page 1 of those handouts show when the 2014 budget was approved on November 7th, 2013. Page 2 shows the resolution passing on January 16th, giving the supervisor approval to approve and execute all contracts in the 2014 budget. Page 3A is the resolution that you guys passed appointing MJM to run Channel 22 for $30,000. 3B shows the motion by Councilman D'Alessandro and second by Councilman Franco to approve the $30,000 and to reevaluate his pay after 6 months. Page 4 is the resolution tonight coming up for $30,000 going to $35,000. Page 5 is a copy of the 2014 budget. You'll see line item A7560. The heading is Channel 22, which shows it's being the budget for 22.5. I have a couple of questions for this resolution. I'd like to know why you negotiated the deal for $30,000 when it was only budgeted for 22.5. That puts you 7,500 over the budget. And if you pass this resolution tonight for another 5, you'll be 12,500 over the budget. And I'd just like to know where the 12,500 is coming from.
Certainly.
That's it.
All right, one thing that I did email the board that, when I discussed with MJM about coming on board and doing our filming, that we were going to require, we talked about what his work would entail. And, we'd asked for, we'd said, what would it take to engage your services? So he told me 35,000. And I said, well, our budget usually is around 30,000. This, I just did rough in my head. And I think we've done calculations now to show that our budget over the last 3 years has fluctuated between like 32 and 36,000 a year. So I did say that we would revisit this after 6 months, which was the June meeting. And I know the board knows, I'm very happy with how Channel 22 has been progressing. But Mark, if you'd like to let us know about, because I know there are some changes in the budget for Channel 22, because previously we had a part-timer working, we also had a contractor working. So if you could address some of the issues as far as the budget, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. Some of the budgeted expenditures for the Channel 22 line are hidden a bit in the retirement line, the Social Security line, and other fringe benefits because we had budgeted for an employee that would receive those fringe benefits. So on tonight's agenda, there is a budget transfer that essentially takes money from the pension line, from the Social Security line, from a variety of fringe benefit lines and moves it into the Channel 22 line because the contract on proposal is for a subcontractor, not an employee. The difference between the original amount budgeted in salary and fringe benefits and what would be paid in subcontracting fees is being taken from the contingency line.
Thank you. And I know that the board has a copy of our last 2011, 2012, 2013 expenses for Channel 22. And as I said, it fluctuated between 32,000 actually to a high of 39,000. So, but we all have that. We'll address that when we get to resolution number 3. Yes, Bill.
I'd like to just make 3 very brief comments about 3 agenda items, 1, 2, and 3. First of all, number 1, I'd like to acknowledge and thank and commend Chief Brian Nichols for all he has done for recreation, as well as what he's done for the town, but he has been a supporter for recreation from day one, and we can always turn to he and the police department, and we always got what we needed. Now, I knew Brian when he was a student in John Jay High School and lived in Breadview. I want to say Brian did a hell of a job as a police chief. As a student, that was a whole other story. But we really appreciate all he has done. Item number 2, first of all, I'd like to thank Shirley Harris for her 25 years as an assistant clerk. Again, I've been here that many years, and she has always been extremely supportive to we people in recreation. And I highly commend and highly recommend Lori Ferrara to take her place. I think it'll be a smooth transition, and Lori, in her 2 or 3 years since I've known her through recreation, has done an outstanding job. And the third item, Mike Miner, who's behind the case there, has, I guess he's been around for about 6 months. Mike Miner has done more for publicizing and promoting recreation in this town in the last 6 months than has been done in years. He has filmed our fishing camp. He has done an interview with Nick and myself to explain our facilities and so on. He's filmed our fireworks show and our concert. He's a man that has to sit in this room for zoning board meetings and planning board meetings, which I watch when I can't get to sleep, so I need something to put me out. He also is here for some very interesting town board meetings. But most of all, he's always willing to assist. Channel 22, he will put on anything we need and put it on right away. And I commend him for all he has done. So Brian Nichols, Lori, Shirley Harris, and Mike, I support you. I think you've done great things for the town, and I think we'll move forward with these people. And by the way, I have to leave now to go to a volleyball, basketball league. I'm not running to watch a television show. So thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate it. You know, and on that note, I would like to thank Shirley Harris for all of her years of service. She worked with Dottie McKeel in the clerk's office as long as I can remember. Recently, she's going to retire in a few weeks, and Shirley's done a great job. Just to thank Shirley for all of her work.
Good evening. I have a question on, I believe it's Resolution Number 7, Award Townwide Drainage Projects. And I read the resolution. I believe I read the most recent form of it. And I was curious as to the bid packets, and I did not see any RFPs regarding, I guess, those bid packets. Is that accessible?
No RFPs, it was a bid package. The bids were put out.
It's not accessible. You have to pay $25 to pick up a set of plans. We can't put it on website.
So how do we know what is out there for the drainage projects?
I think there's a list here. They were put out.
Copy at the town clerk's office.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a copy.
Either a contractor can view or buy them. You don't have to buy them, you can come in and view them.
Just take a look at them if you want.
Well, being that it's a resolution and on the town agenda tonight, I would think that it would have been posted on the internet or
It was.
part of the resolution.
It was publicized. I don't know how many contractors picked them up. It was a
Typically
bid.
don't put the plans and
We
specs
don't put the
on,
plans and specs on because
Just the
people
notice
have
for
to pay
bids.
for the packages.
just the notice for bids.
So
And
the
bid
public
results.
has to pay for a package in order to become familiar with
No,
what
you
is
can
up
come
for a
and take a
resolution?
look. It's at the clerk's office.
I guess my point would be, if it's on the agenda tonight for public comment, I'd like to know what I would be commenting on or questioning,
Okay, you could have stopped in any time at the clerk's office.
but you're going to vote on it tonight.
Said you could have stopped in any time at the clerk's office and inquired.
It was out
How
for
long
bid
has the
for
bid been out? The
Probably
bid-
5 or 6 weeks,
The bid was out for how many weeks?
somewhere in that area.
Yeah, so the bid was
Well,
out for a
I
while.
thought the website was the point for information, and
You're more than
maybe in the
welcome to stop
future,
in.
we could post something like that.
No, we just do the notification. I think that's all required by law.
Yeah.
I just don't know, then how would the public be able to comment on it?
I'm sorry?
How would the public be able to comment on what's out to bid then? As you probably can imagine, I have
Well, let me ask,
a
I mean, we
special
must-
curiosity of a particular drainage project, and I would like to know in comparison, you know, what that would have been.
If I may, we must have authorized this bid to go out. How
Yes.
many,
Well,
couple months
I
ago?
believe it's a budgeted item.
Yeah, so it was brought up at the town board meeting to authorize for these bids for this townwide stormwater project, so,
Basically the same as we've done every other one.
yeah.
Well, again, as you probably can imagine, I have a special interest in drainage, and that's why I brought it up tonight out of curiosity of if and when and how much might be associated in a particular bid regarding my interest. Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other public comments on agenda items? All right, there being none, we'll move to the resolutions. First resolution of the evening is to accept police chief's letter of retirement and appoint supervisory personnel. Whereas the East Fishkill Town Board has received letter of retirement from Police Chief Brian Nichols, and the board accepts this letter, the town board understands the need to provide appropriate supervisory structure. Now therefore be resolved that Lieutenant Kevin Keefe is appointed to the position of interim chief of police with a salary of $114,014 plus longevity. And be it further resolved that Sergeant Matthew Orsino is promoted to the rank of lieutenant from the Dutchess County Civil Service list, and Officer Brian Tarpey is promoted to the rank of sergeant from the Dutchess County Civil Service list. Be it further resolved that the salary and benefits for the above positions will be in accordance with the PBA contract. Do I have a motion to accept the letter of retirement and appoint these supervisory personnel?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations. I would ask for... I would just like to ask for interim chief Keith Lieutenant Orsino and Sergeant Tarpey to come forward, and the board would like to offer our sincerest congratulations. So we'll step down here, gentlemen. This is a terrific thing. Congratulations. And you know, I can't tell you how proud I am of you and our people. This is terrific, Lieutenant. Really, really proud. Sergeant, the stuff you guys have been doing, I can't tell you, it's just thrilled. So, I would just like to ask if there's any way we can all just kind of get together for one picture, and then we'll get back to work. So, how about our new people in the middle? I know we were all a little bit concerned when that second didn't come immediately, but thank goodness somebody finally seconded it.
Yeah. Better late than never.
All right, the next resolution on the agenda, resolution number 2. Councilman D'Alessandro, would you read the resolution?
Sure. Whereas the current Deputy Clerk, Shirley Harris, will be retiring effective July 25, 2014, the Town Clerk has requested that Laura Ferrara be appointed for the position effective July 28, 2014. And Laura will be hired as a full-time Deputy Town Clerk with salary and benefits per the CSEA contract. And now therefore be it resolved, it is the desire of the Town Board to appoint Laura Ferrara to this position, and that Laura Ferrara, residing in Hopewell Junction, New York, be and hereby is appointed as a full-time Deputy Clerk in the Town of East Fishkill.
Thank you, Councilman D'Alessandro. Do I have a motion to appoint Laura Ferrara full-time Deputy Clerk?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Resolution number 3. Councilman Franco, would you read resolution number 3, please?
Whereas in January, the town appointed MJM Television and Video Services to operate the town's municipal channel, and whereas the town board agreed to pay the sum of $30,000 per annum with respect to these services and review the same after 6 months, and whereas following a review at the 6-month period and the determination by the board that many additional services are being provided to the town by this company, now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the continuation of MJM Television and Video Services for the balance of 2014 at $35,000 per annum, and be it further resolved that a memorandum of agreement between the town and MJM Television and Video Services be prepared by the town attorney and executed by the town supervisor.
Thank you, Councilman Franco. As I said, I'm very happy, and I think MJM is doing a great job. I know it had been brought up that we should actually enter into a memorandum of agreement. Tom, we could draft up an MOA?
Yes, we use we have a standard document that we attach a description of the services.
Okay, and I'll circulate that out to the board prior to any signings to make sure that the board is happy with the MOA. So with that, do I have a motion authorizing the continuation well, that's the resolution. Authorize contract with MJM for the balance of the year and increase the sum to $35,000 per year.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have
I have some concerns about this. I brought to the attention of the board, I mean, the gentleman is doing a good job. We have not, prior to this resolution, produced a contract with this company. Personally, I would like to see a contract. I would like to see what the duties of these companies are. And the second reason why I'm not in favor of doing this tonight is this was not a budgeted item to begin with, the total amount. So, for those two reasons, I would like to delay this resolution from going into effect tonight. It will make us, as a board, look better to the community, that we are doing the diligent job that we're supposed to do. We need to acquire a contract, review it, and then come back and put this resolution together. It's only a matter of time. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about this. I know that the gentleman is doing more of a community service. I don't know when we established this services, what were they supposed to be done to what we are doing today. And I strongly believe that we do need a contract and review it. We should have asked for a contract right at the beginning when we started dealing with MJM. So a handshake is good, but the community needs to know what is the company supposed to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I would table this resolution tonight for those reasons.
Okay. Anybody else like to comment? I have a couple of comments, but if anybody else comment higher.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I think we did, as a town board, as Supervisor Hickman had said, that after the 6 months it would be reviewed, and it was an oversight that we left it out of the agenda last month. And I cannot speak highly enough of Mr. Meyer. I think everybody, we're all in agreement of that. And I really, I don't see an issue with this. I understand if you want to have a contract in the future. I think that's fine. Did we have a contract previously with the previous video? No? So,
Yeah, it's,
May I just say that whatever happened before with the previous administration should not, at this point, this board should really not decide the way things have been done in the past, that we should keep on doing it in the future.
no, and
I think a contract, when somebody is hired by the town, as the town lawyer should be aware, we do need a contract. I mean, we have to specify exactly what his duties are and go from there. We have voted on a salary for this contract. We had agreed after the resolution was passed, the motion was made. This is not a budgeted thing again. It's only $5,000, $6,000, but still we have to take money from someplace else to pay for something that was not budgeted for.
okay.
To me, again, he's doing a good job, but at the same time, we have an obligation to the people of the town of East Fishkill. That's our job tonight. I cannot award any money to somebody with no contract. And just because it has been done before does not constitute that we should do the same thing into the future.
Okay, if I may, just a couple of things. Let's talk a little bit about how Channel 22 actually even came about. I think it's about 2006, 2007. Cablevision had given us equipment to do this sort of production. When we started out with the production, we had one of the guys from Recreation that used to work at a video company, and he actually started doing it with little still pictures. And it's progressed over the years. I think it's done a good job. I think we've come to a whole new level. Recently with Mr. Minor, when I interviewed him, as I emailed the board, I said we would look at his salary request in June, which I would still like to keep that. But I do think he's doing a great job. I think I'd have to agree with Bill Green. He's filming things we never thought we'd be filming as far as recreation town activities. I think he's going to do a softball game. He's going to do volleyball. So I'm very, very happy with MJM and his performance right now. In the past, I don't think we'd ever had a contract. I'd have to recall way back when. I don't think we did. We did hire somebody for a part-timer to do some of the work. I have no problem. Tom said we were just doing a standard memorandum
Well,
of
just to
agreement.
point out to the board, what we usually do is we have a boilerplate front end of a contract, and what we do is we take either the letters of proposals that various people give us, like on the bids that are RFPs, no formal contract. We have a document that's utilized for that. In this case, it would be the front end, the regular one we have, and the controller had provided the board with a matrix which showed the services that are being provided by this vendor as opposed to the past vendor.
Yeah.
So that matrix would be the summary of the services that would be annexed to the contract.
Okay. And in regards to the budget, you know, we do a budget in the previous year, you're trying to figure out all of your expenses are going to be, as I said, in 2011, when you took all the expenses with Channel 22, 2011 was 32,000, 2012 was 39, 2013 was 36,9. So they've been right in this ballpark. I have no problem. I would table for the board to approve a contract, but I would still like to increase the pay to $35,000 that Mr. Minor actually originally requested, and I think that he is doing the job that would certainly, you know, reflect that.
I tried to review some of the previous contracts. I mean, previous figures that we've been working with as far as this this issue is concerned. It was really a mess the way things were handled in the past. Numbers were jumping back and forth. So I would like to see something from now on rectified and we go on. We all know what the numbers are and where we want to go with the numbers. I mean, if we look at the page and when I spoke with Mark, one year was one figure, the next year was either a higher or lower, then we went back to another number. Because things have been done a certain way, I really don't like to see it go on the same way.
I would not say that things have been done the same. I would say that we did have a contractor that was doing work for us that I did question some of his expenditures, and I think that what we're doing right now has taken care of any issues that we would have. So I had actually, I would ask the board to authorize the increase of $35,000 for the rest of the year, and we'll put together a contract for the July meeting, have the board review it, and or for the August meeting, if the board is happy with it, we'll authorize signing it. Okay, that.
Can I
That would actually...
Can I just clarify one thing, as my understanding?
Sure.
With Channel 22 before, the last person was hourly, just so you know, he's not hourly anymore.
Right.
The last person was hourly, so if he spent 5 hours at the planning board, went 5 hours that night.
Yeah.
He got paid 5 hours. Then someone else got paid to
do the
edit
editing.
it.
Yep.
And that was another 5 hours. And the editor actually got more money than the person doing the taping.
Peter, you might want to explain to the people,
But
because
just so
I
everybody
already
knows.
reviewed all that.
No, but there was two people working.
That's a good
And there
point.
was one set of numbers that was put in the budget, which was the guy that was doing the taping. But there was two different people, because now Mike has the capability to do both jobs, the editing and the taping. Originally, way back when it first started, it was one guy doing the whole thing. He was able to do the whole thing himself, correct?
Yes.
Then when we took on the next person, he was only able to do half the job, but he was going to learn the second half, and it never really came to fruition, and that's where we are
Yeah.
at this point.
And one thing about
So the
this-
number was really higher all along, because there was two line items. Hourly,
No.
it was the same as,
Not that I'm-
it was an hourly thing.
Yeah, there was an agreement for an hourly rate, and I think one
Do
of...
we have a contract with the last people?
Just an hourly rate, an agreement as an hourly rate.
Okay.
Yeah, there was-
Well, I would think that's why it's so important now to have a contract.
Right.
And go forward with it, so this doesn't happen again.
Well, I think one of the advantages of this contract is it is a fixed amount. With the prior arrangement, if a town board meeting lasted 3 hours, we paid more
I understand that.
versus 2 hours.
Right.
So there is predictability with this, the formatting of this
Yeah.
as a fixed amount.
And if anybody has to be brought in to do any
There's
extra
no additional,
work, it doesn't cost
there's no
us
additional
anything.
charges.
It's a flat fee.
As it's, right.
The only thing I'd have a problem with the contract is wording, in
Well,
my
that's what
opinion,
Tom is
because
saying.
I
Right.
don't think you can write as much into a contract as we're actually getting. So it would have to be meetings and special events.
Yeah.
As long as
excuse
we
me.
have the money,
It-
as long as the money is there, because like I said, we're 12,005 now over what we budgeted this year for 22.
Well, it depends on which budget
So
line you
as
look
long,
at.
you know, as
Yeah,
long
that's
as the
not-
money's there,
The 12,005 is not accurate, as I said, because as a salaried employee, there were monies budgeted in other lines. Where the additional funding is coming from is the contingency line, which we set aside usually between $50,000 and $75,000 every year, specifically for events that were unforeseen. You know, we acknowledge that a budget is a bit of a guess. So we put money aside specifically to move it later in the year. So this is not coming out of fund balance. This is not coming
No.
even from another expenditure line. It's specifically money set aside for unforeseen.
well, if we had moved the money
Okay.
prior to this coming up, then I wouldn't even be up here.
Yeah, but the 22,000, the number that we came up with, that was the previous guy's base pay before the fringe benefits that are in another line item.
You don't see it all. Anyway, I'd like to make a motion, if I may, to authorize the increase for MJM to $35,000. We will hammer out a contract if the board would like to, a couple members of the board would like to work on the contracts. I have to agree with Councilman Cassidy. It's not going to be cut dry. It's going to have to be, you know, inclusive of a lot of different activities. So with that, do I have a motion to authorize increasing the salary to MJM to $35,000 for the rest of the year, and we will work on a contract to have to vote on at the August meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
One-
John, could I
one opposed.
comment on
Thank
something?
you very much.
Can I make a comment regarding
I'm
that?
sorry,
John?
we're on doing resolutions now.
Very good. Something's wrong with that picture, that the people can't comment on what it is that you're talking about out here.
We had comment on agenda items, and then we'll have another comment period afterwards.
Until there's a discussion, the people don't know what you're going to say. So now when you say something, you should
Excuse me,
really
we're
afford
doing
somebody the
resolutions, sir.
opportunity to comment on what you're going to say.
Yeah, thank you.
And there goes the sarcasm again.
The next resolution for refer petition to request amending the zoning ordinance for a commercial building in the Four Corners subdivision to planning board for their comments. Whereas the owners of a commercial building in the Four Corners subdivision has filed a petition with the town clerk seeking to have the town board modify the town zoning ordinance so as to allow the conversion of the commercial building into condominium apartment units. It is the practice under town code to refer said petition to the planning board for their comments and input. Now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk be and hereby is directed to forward the petition with respect to the Four Corners commercial building to the planning board for its further consideration and comment. Before we go, I'd just like to explain to the board that the owners of this commercial building had come forward to us. They haven't had a successful business operation in that building, and they are making a proposal to turn that building into apartments or condos. I had asked them months ago to reach out to the community there in Four Corners. They tell me they reached out to the homeowners association. They couldn't get anywhere with it. They've reached out to some people in the community. So what I suspect will happen, we'll refer this tonight to the planning board for their comments. They will come back to us. Tom, we would then hold a public hearing to amend the zoning ordinance. I think this is on a cluster subdivision. Correct. So at that time, there would be notice would be put into the community. So I would think at that point, then we will see the residents of the Four Corners community come to the town board for our public hearing. And then my intent at that time is to say, why don't you two parties go, have a meeting at they have a big building over there, and talk about what you want, and then come back and tell us what you're happy with. I don't think we need to be in the middle of this, but I just think this is kind of like a venue to get the two sides together to talk. So that's where I see this going. But tonight's resolution is simply to refer this application to the planning board. So do I have a motion to refer the zoning ordinance amendment to the petition to the planning board?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Councilman Marinero, would you read resolution number 5, please?
Authorizing the settlement of the Gaslands tax authority orders, whereas the Gasland Petroleum Incorporation is the owner of the tax parcel 6155-08-945909, which is located at the Lake Drive and Route 52, and is an abandoned gasoline station, and whereas said site as previously been determined to have been contaminated and under an order from New York State DEC to be cleaned, and whereas the current owner is in the process of cleaning the property, and whereas the owner has challenged the tax assessment for 2013 and 14, and whereas said challenge has been reviewed by the town consulting appraisers, and whereas while technically the assessed value could be reduced further than what it has been agreed to, the parties have reached a resolution of this matter, and whereas the parcel upon the redevelopment will be reassessed in accordance with the improvements thereon. Now therefore be it resolved that the town attorney be and is hereby authorized to execute a stipulation of settlement resolving the above reference tax certiorari as follows. Year 2013, original amount was $450,000. Reduced amount is $250,000. Year 2014, original amount was $450,000. Reduced amount is $250,000. Be it further resolved that all the officials of the town be and hereby are authorized to implement the aforementioned reduction.
Thank you, Councilman. I do have 2 questions for our attorney. Is there any cash any cash settlement?
For 1 year, there'd be a refund. For the town share, it'd be approximately $3,200.
$3,200? Okay. And I did want to ask a little bit, we had discussed before the DEC action against this property, and I know we'd had some back and forth with their attorneys, and we really haven't seen any activity.
Well, that has to be separated from the party who owns the property now, bought the property, has a DEC agreement, is going to clean up the site. What we were dealing with was the attorneys for the prior owner who actually owned the property at the time of the pollution.
Okay.
So it's 2 separate ones. There is a consent order with New York State. We're working on trying to have a meeting with the Attorney General's office that has a New York State Superfund site fund,
yep,
and with the DEC in the hopes that we'll be able to get them to cooperate on putting some public water in to eliminate some of the filtration systems for adjoining properties.
Okay.
But they have been difficult in getting the meeting to go.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to authorize this settlement with Gaslands?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Councilman D'Alessandro, would you read resolution number 6, please?
Sure. Receipt of referral from the Planning Board of the Muse at Hopewell application. Whereas the Muse at Hopewell has proposed a workforce housing project on Joe's Mother's Road, and said application has been filed with the Planning Board, and the Planning Board has reviewed the application and site plan and has discussed same with the developer, and modifications have been made to the original submission. And the Planning Board has now referred to the Town Board the proposed site plan with a request to the Town Board that they be allowed to process said application, and under the zoning ordinance of the Town Board must authorize Planning Board's processing of the application and conduct a public hearing thereon. Now therefore be resolved That the town board does acknowledge the receipt of the application of the Muse at Hopewell for workforce housing project at Joe's Mother's Road and authorizing the planning board to continue the review of same. And that the town board does hereby schedule a public hearing in accordance with the zoning ordinance of the town of East Fishkill for its regular meeting of September 25th, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. And that the town clerk be and hereby is authorized and directed to advertise said public hearing and to refer a copy of said proposal to the Dutchess County Department of Planning.
Thank you, Councilman. The board has gotten copies of the letter from the planning board on the referral, a copy from the applicant's engineering services, and we have plans, and I think that there is also a diagram of what it will look like. Do I have a motion acknowledging the receipt of the referral from the planning board and setting the public hearing for the Muse at Hopewell for September 25th at 7:30 p.m.? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Councilman Cassidy, would you read resolution number 7, please?
Awarding townwide drainage bids, whereas the town board previously authorized the advertisement of bids for townwide drainage projects by the Highway Department, and whereas the bids have been received by the town clerk and a summary has been prepared, and whereas it is the desire of the town board to award the bid to the lowest responsible bidder, now therefore be it resolved that the bids of the townwide drainage project for the Highway Department to be set forth, attached schedule, and being labeled the lowest bidder is hereby is awarded by the town board. Be it further resolved that the town clerk shall notify all bidders of said award.
Thank you, Councilman. And we have a letter, town engineer's memo on the, we received 7 bids for the 2014 townwide drainage project, and they ranged from $240,418 to over $700,000. The locations are some work at Francis Drive, Dogwood Road, Country Club Road, Hillside Lake. There's a basin to be replaced in that deep sump, and we also put out for townwide catch basin repairs, as we have a lot of catch basins in need of repair. So the engineer recommends awarding this to B&K Excavating, the low bidder on the job. Do I have a motion to awarding townwide drainage bid to B&K?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution number 8, authorizing a camp registration fee refund. Whereas summer camp fees are normally non-refundable, and a circumstance has arisen where a child is not able to participate in said camp, information has been verified by the recreation director, and now therefore be resolved that the supervisor be and hereby is authorized to allow a partial refund of $250. We do have a memo from Rec Director Bill Green. So do I have a motion to authorize this registration fee refund?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Number 9 is to authorize the hiring of additional lifeguards. We kind of ran into this last, I think it was last month, when we were doing camp counselors. We were trying to figure out how many camp counselors that we we're going to need with the late sign-up. Now we're having lifeguards leaving early for school. Town board has previously authorized hiring of lifeguards. Some current lifeguards will be leaving earlier than expected for college. Now therefore be resolved that Recreation Director being hereby is authorized to hire the additional lifeguards that shall be necessary will notify the town board of such hiring. Said employment shall be seasonal employment, that upon completion of their tasks, they shall be removed from the payroll. And Bill gives, Brad Westrick from Red Wing sent us a memo. I just asked Mark, I imagine that as these lifeguards go off to college, we'll be bringing on new. I don't imagine there's going to be any overlap or any increase in the budget. It's just having another lifeguard.
Right, my understanding is it's just a different person filling the same role.
That's all, so. Okay. Do I have a motion authorizing the hiring of additional lifeguards?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 10 is to authorize the refund of $800 with respect to a driveway bond for 28 Rushmore Road. Owner of 28 Rushmore Road has posted a driveway bond, and the driveway has been paved, and the owner is requesting a refund of said bond. The town professional engineers are recommending the refund of this bond. Do I have a motion to refund this bond in the amount of $800? I believe we have a letter from the applicant. We do have a picture, and we have a copy of the driveway bond. So do I have a motion authorizing the refund of the driveway bond?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Councilman D'Alessandro, would you read Resolution 11, please?
Okay. Authorizing police officers to attend the training program. Whereas the Chief of Police has indicated his desire to send 2 sergeants to the Woodland Tactics and Operations training offered at the State Preparedness Training Center in Orzinski, New York, from October 14th and 15, 2014, and the expenses to the town will be for tolls and meals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board does hereby authorize the Police Chief to send 2 sergeants to attend the Woodland Tactics and Operations training offered at the State Preparedness Training Center in Orsicani, maybe, that's how it is, New York, with expenses for tolls and meals from October 14th and 15, 2014. Be it further resolved that in addition to the cost of tolls and meals, the sergeant shall be paid their normal salary during said period. I hope the new sergeant goes.
I hope we have 2 sergeants.
Hope the new sergeant will go, too.
All right, and this actually is paid for, I guess, by Homeland Security. And so again, our only fees are the cost of tolls and meals and their normal pay. So do I have a motion to authorize the police officers to attend the training program at Oriskany?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. That was it. That's it for the resolutions for this evening.
Since there's no room, does that mean they're sleeping in the woods?
Well, that's what they got to do, right? That's probably how Homeland Security gets away with it.
It's a wood track.
Next item on the agenda is budget transfers. Mark, would you like to just quick run through? I just explained about budget transfers. We do our budgets. Budget has to be adopted in November before the year. Typically, a budget, you take a look at all last year's expenses. You try to figure out what expenses or revenues are going to go up or down for the next year, and you do your best guess. But ultimately, there's always budget transfers. Budget transfers do not mean any increase in the overall budget. Budget transfers just mean moving around money within the budget from different budget lines. So Mark, would you just give us a little summary of the budget transfers of the evening?
Sure. Due to some sophisticated and complicated assessor issues this year, we are going to need more money for subcontractors in the assessor line. That's going to be paid for out of the contingency line as well. In recreation, we spoke with the supervisor of buildings and grounds a couple months ago, and he stated the desire to have more staff. It was a compelling argument. At the same time, we thought we were going to need fewer counselors at camp than originally budgeted for. Since then, we've added a few more, so some of that funding for the additional buildings and grounds maintenance guys will be coming from camp, but the rest from contingency. In the senior center, we've just sort of adjusted the way we fund some of the programs. So there's revenue there that's going to be applied to expenses, right, that just used to be handled differently. And then the final one is the Channel 22 changes that we talked about earlier. Again, most of this change is from other budgeted areas within Channel 22, and the difference is being funded by the contingency line.
Okay.
So there's no additional
Increase to the
use of
overall
fund
budget.
balance or anything.
All righty. And you can see in the Channel 22 budget, contractual expenses, personal service, employee benefits are all changed around, so reflecting our new flat rate for the services. So, any questions for the controller on the budget transfers as proposed? There being none, do I have a motion to authorize the budget transfers as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is to take public comment on general town issues. This is a time when the public can come and comment on general town issues.
I think all of you know me, but just in case you don't, I'm Claire Moran. I am Vice President for Julie's Jungle. And it's been a while, and we have two new town board members, so it's about time that we gave an update on what's going on and where we are in this. So I wanted to make sure that I got every point, so I wrote it all down. So I'm going to read it, okay? And I'm really nervous, so be nice to me. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to address you at this town board meeting. It has been a while since we last gave an update on Julie's Jungle. And since we have two new board members, we'd like to tell you now how far we come and where we still need to go. As you all know, Julie's Jungle at Lime Kiln Road is a 501c3, which means we are a private, not-for-profit organization separate from the town of East Fishkill. We started this endeavor back in March of 2012. Janet McHugh, a resident and community volunteer, came up with this project after witnessing a mom at our park with her two daughters. One was able-bodied and could enjoy the playground, all the playground had to offer, while her sister, who was wheelchair-bound, could only look on. She was not able to use her wheelchair with the sand or the wood chips in the playground. After witnessing this and speaking with the mom, Janet approached the supervisor, John Hickman, told him what she had witnessed and discussed how we could change that. John was extremely receptive to the idea of replacing the antiquated playground at Lime Kiln Park and make it a playground so all children could play together. Most of the people in this room will have no idea what it's like to have a child with a disability. Whether it be physical or cognitive, I hope you never do.
You're doing fine.
You're doing okay. You're doing great.
There are over 2,500 children in this county, and that's what's documented of kids with disabilities, and they have no place in this county to go. This is so important. After this discussion with Janet, John told me about the project, and I was thrilled, but really, really jealous that I wasn't the one that thought of it. So Janet and I very carefully picked the perfect people who were going to work on this project with us. We went over and picked everybody that we wanted to be a part of this. It is so close to our hearts. We are very proud of all 7 of the people on our board. All 7 of us work full-time in the community and take care of our families and volunteer to this project as well as to many others in the community. And you all know the volunteer that we do for this community. Mm-hmm. I feel it's important that you hear that. So let me repeat that this is not the only project that each of us works on, although we devote hundreds, if not thousands, of hours to this. Every single one of us are volunteer. I did that already. We wanted to make sure that we did everything we needed to do and to do it right, from incorporating to becoming a 501c3, so that we were completely separate from the town of East Fishkill. This project will be done in 2 phases. I'm better now. And we need to raise approximately $400,000 to complete both phases. When it is done, we will then gift over this playground to the town, and the town will maintain the park as it did with the playground that was there before. The money that we raise comes from individual donations, corporate donations, fundraising events, we can all talk to that, and grant opportunities. And as you can imagine, again, it takes countless hours to raise these funds. We take it very personal very personal when the ethics or the integrity of our board members is questioned. This volunteer board is dedicated to this project, and we don't expect a handout, and we have worked, again, thousands of hours to achieve what we have done so far. We have two goals with this project, and they are to get this state-of-the-art playground built, and the second is to raise awareness of people with disabilities. The Muse speaks to that as well. I'm over the moon about that, but we know that.
Okay.
The response from the public has been awesome, and we have met some wonderful people along the way, and some of them are here tonight. Let me tell you about some of them. There's the grandmother whose 4-year-old granddaughter was born with CP, cerebral palsy, and walks with the aid of the walker. She, over the past 2 years, has held numerous fundraisers for us and has raised over $5,000 just so her granddaughter can have a place to play. The young mother who is out of work, her husband's out of work too, and whose son has spina bifida, and he too is in a wheelchair. Yet this mother fundraises. She was down in Beacon at a craft fair doing face painting for kids and getting donations and gave them to us. How cool is that? So her son will have a place to play. Then there's a high school student from John Jay who, after he heard our presentation, came up and gave us $20. It was his lunch money for the week, but he wanted us to have it because he thought this was such a good cause. Or at our table at Community Day, the grandfather that picked his little 2 or 3-year-old grandson up so he could put money in our coin box so that we could have it. He said, "Here, take this. I want to help." Should we as a community, as a town, want every child, what every child is entitled to? We just want a child to be able to do what they are supposed to do, and that is to be a child, able to play. Life is hard enough for these children, for children with the disability. They deserve to be able to have one place close to home in their community where they can go, have fun, be themselves, and be a child. We are determined as a board to do this for those children. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Hi, I'm Jill Keating, also on the board of Julie's Jungle. I can't talk, and I'm not going to repeat everything that Claire just said, but I just sorry. Nobody knows how much this playground is needed more than a parent who has a child with special needs. My daughter, Julie, had special needs, and exactly everything she said and you've said, I've taken her to the parks. I've had having her sit in the wheelchair while my other children are running around, and it just makes it so much more important to have this for all those children out there. Now, unfortunately, my daughter passed away, and I want to see all those other parents and those other children out there, and this is just so personal to our family. And we're working, my husband's on the board, my children, my daughter Natalie is the one who wrote the letter to the town, coming up with the idea. At the same time, Janet had thought of it. So basically this, I just can't stress enough how important this is, and all of us are volunteering, we're out there, so we appreciate any support that we can get from the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I just say one quick thing? The letter came to me about 5 years ago. I forwarded it to Janet, and Janet and this committee said, you know, we're going to build this right away.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm building a swimming pool and a gym in the town for the last 30 years. The reality is Janet and Claire and this crew is doing it, and I applaud them because they took this by the, and they...
Yeah, they're getting it done.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. And just so everybody knows, the playground, I believe, has been cleared out up at Limekiln, and it's all been removed. I know, Scott, you were up there. You were doing some grading, some...
We're trying to finalize the grading plan.
Doing the grading plan and getting some work done up there. And, yeah, this is going to happen. It's still, there's going to be a lot of work to do, but it is moving along, and we support this project 100%. So, And anybody knows Claire, when Jamie Q and Claire get together, boy, you got to watch out. It's just something's going to happen. So you guys have a great board, and thank you so much for everything every one of your board members does. Thank you very much. Okay, any other comments on general town issues? Hi, Bob.
Hello again.
How are you?
I'm back.
Yep.
I still am concerned about getting community water.
Yeah.
I spoke with Scott briefly on the phone, and pretty much he told me there was a survey run in my neighborhood that only 20% were in favor. I've only found one person who actually remembers a survey.
Okay. You know, and Bob, just let me just say, because you brought this up at the last minute, because
Yes.
you're concerned with your well, obviously.
Yeah.
And I went down to see Scott a couple of days later to talk about it. He pulled out the old file where we had looked at, and he said he did a survey and did a larger survey. It didn't seem to be the interest. But I know we still would, if we can work something out with the people in your area, and we get more capacity, because we actually have to have more supply.
But we have the file, we have a mailing list, we have everyone it was mailed to, we have those who responded, and I shared that with you. I said, you can come and take a look at the file. We're not going to post it on the website,
Right.
but you're more than
Well,
welcome
we
to
were
come in and
supposed
take
to
a look.
meet Tuesday at 11 o'clock.
Well, we never finalized the meeting.
Your office called back and told me you'd be there at 11 o'clock on Tuesday.
No, I didn't.
Well, I just...
They may have mistakenly done that. I know we were trying to find a date, and you were booked all week.
Yeah, and when I
That's how
went
we left
downstairs
it.
and checked my calendar, I saw that Tuesday was good. I called your office right back, and they said they'd check with you.
Yeah.
And they called back the next day and said we were on.
We can certainly.
Okay. Well, why don't you guys
next
set up
week.
a meeting? We'll get down, we can sit down and talk about this, because obviously, if more people in your more people in your area are interested in forming a district, that's fine.
Well,
we'll see what we can do.
You know, I'm just curious as to how many people got the survey, you know, that nobody seems to remember.
It was a letter mailed out.
Yeah.
With our phone number, please call or write back. That, I mean, it wasn't like a check a box or any kind of survey. It was a letter that went out, a form letter.
Okay.
And we have a file downstairs.
One of my
You're more
neighbors
than
did
welcome.
tell me that he remembers getting something, but the price was like so high. It was like $2,000 a year or something.
I don't know that we, in that letter, had any pricing. I don't.
Yeah,
believe.
I
Yeah.
don't
And I
believe
believe it was
myself either.
Stop on in,
2012.
Bob, we'll pull the
We're
file.
going back to
And we'll
2012
see what we
with
can
this.
do.
I know.
Okay. Another question I had. With the well you just drilled in Fishkill Plains, who pays for that?
Fishkill Plains.
The water
The
district
district.
itself pays
Yeah.
for it. Those people are assessed more for drilling a backup well?
And whoever benefits from it, yes.
Okay, so they get, how does that work? Do they get, they're told your taxes are going to go up because we have to drill another well?
I
or-
think it's a little different in this particular case, because when we bought this system, we had set aside a contingency.
Yeah.
So we're actually able to use that contingency to do this improvement, so.
So it's
Okay.
already in the budget, so it's not going to be an increase, because it was
And
budgeted last year.
when we buy a water district, where does that money come from?
The district's formed to encompass the properties of those parties who will benefit from it, and the borrowing is done and the tax is levied just against those properties that are connected or have connection capabilities. It's not
Okay.
everybody in the town.
So it doesn't come out of the general fund when we buy something like that?
No.
Okay,
Okay, but stop around and we'll talk, we'll take a look at the file and see what we can come up with.
okay. I'll be back in touch with Scott again.
Give us a call, absolutely.
We can do Monday if you want to do Monday.
I told you I work on Monday.
There we go again.
Tuesday.
You had a doctor's appointment, I work, you.
Tuesday.
Would you stop?
Tuesday.
Would you stop? Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Okay,
Okay, what
All right.
time?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock Tuesday? You got it.
I better write this down.
You write it down because I'll be back next month if he's not there on Tuesday.
Okay. Anybody else, public comments on general town issues?
Good evening. John, I'm curious to know if you have any plans to do anything to rectify the issues with Hillside Lake?
Which issues specifically?
as if you don't know, but
No, I'm just asking
I'll
which
be
issue
specific for
specifically,
you,
yeah.
John, to clean the lake up, get us back to where we were years ago.
We held 3 public meetings in 2010 with the Hillside Lake communities, you're aware. We provided 3 different proposals as to what we could do bonding on behalf of the people in the Special Park District.
Right.
Did not seem to be any interest in doing that. That would have been, as in a water district, would have been a bond. Didn't seem to be any interest in that. We've applied for 9 grants on behalf of Hillside Lake for different fixing the dam, stormwater, and such like that. If we don't get grants, then it's going to be for the lake as a whole. I mean, it'd be something the community would like to work on it, that'd be fine. If the community would like to have a focus group to come back and say, this is what we'd like to see with the lake, that would be fine. But we would like to see the grants, but unfortunately that time clock is running out and it doesn't look good. We will take care of our stormwater issues, any maintenance and things of that nature, though.
And the damage that, first, let me back up for a minute. I want to make it clear that I'm not blaming you or anybody else that's on this board, because the problem existed while you were there, before you were there. So let me make that very, very clear. But you're now the sitting board. You're talking about 3 meetings that we had at the Van Wyck. Those meetings, the people were under the assumption that we were to pay for the damages or pay to get the lake resurrected. They didn't know at the time that the town was the contributor to the demise of the lake. I thought we established that at the last meeting. I thought you said you assume responsibility. I thought that Nick and Peter and Tom, and I know Manny knows, but I thought we were all on the same page as to the fact that the town has damaged the lake. Are we not on the same page?
I would hesitate to say the town has, as with any stormwater system, there's a stormwater system. We have 9 discharges into Hillside Lake, and the stormwater discharges into Hillside Lake have probably brought silt in, as many do during rain events.
Okay.
So there's a percentage of the silt in the lake is from our stormwater system.
Okay, and so what are you saying? That you only want to prevent it from going further, but you don't want to fix what was damaged? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that we would take care of anything that we had done
But
through our
John,
stormwater.
you're talking out of both sides of your mouth right now. You're going back and forth. You're saying one thing, then you're saying
Our
something else.
stormwater-
Why don't you tell the people, the residents of East Fishkill, why don't you just be a man, take responsibility, tell the people of East Fishkill why you don't want to fix Hillside Lake?
Because, well, I will say this to the people, that I don't believe that, although we have 9 discharges into Hillside Lake, many of them been there probably more than 40 years, you know, there's a lot of other issues. I know that it seems difficult, but with all the issues with septic, with
We
urban
went
runoff-
through that, John,
Yes,
and
we
that's
have.
not proven. So why do you keep
So you say
using
that's
that?
not proven, but have you proved that we damaged the lake to that extent?
So in other words, you want to take advantage of people that are handicapped in the sense that we don't have anybody to really defend us. Is that what you want to say? We don't have a lawyer to defend us. So you knowingly, am I not making myself clear?
I'm kind of surprised at what you're saying.
What are you surprised at? You know that we don't have a lawyer to defend us.
Don't you have an association?
And if we did, this would never get this far. So,
What happened to the association?
so the fact that we don't have anybody to represent us other than ourselves, you're going to take advantage of that. Is that what you want to do?
I'm not planning on taking advantage of anybody.
But you're doing it.
Excuse me, we have made several grant applications on behalf of the district. I know it doesn't seem like a lot. We've spent probably close to $100,000. A lot of man
You
hours
say the same thing every month. You got,
You would have
just-
us...
Go
okay.
ahead.
Well, okay. And what I'm trying to say is that Hillside Lake, being a private lake, it's always been a private lake.
And I'm going to revert back to my
Yes.
example about the damage to the vehicle.
Okay.
If you damage my vehicle, whether it's a corporate, whether it's a private car, whatever it is, if you damage it, you owe me to make me whole again. Again, I'll tell you, and I'll say it for the public. I don't say to you, if I get a grant, I try to get 6 grants to pay for your car. If my friend pays me, but he didn't pay me, what is that? Where does that leave you?
We will fix the dent in your car, but I don't think that we should buy a whole car for you.
John, you're not even owning up to doing any, you're only speaking about, I'm trying to get clarity as to where you feel your responsibility lies, and all you're doing is circling the wagon with it. You're not telling the people what you're going to do. Why don't you tell us what you're going to do? We know that
Because
you're going
you
to take
were never-
care of drainage.
okay.
Yeah, we
Well,
know
we
that.
will-
What are you going to do for the damage that was done?
What damage was done?
What you just admitted to.
What damage was done? Please explain
All
it
the
to me.
siltation and everything else, and everything that contributed to making Hillside Lake not swimmable, not boatable, not fish. You can't fish in there. You drained the lake 3 or 4 times, not caring about what was in there. So what is it? What is it that you're not understanding from me that I can't get a clear answer from you
I
as
said
to what you want to do?
We will take care of any siltation that we deposit in Hillside Lake and remove that silt.
Well, you know what? So when is there going to be a meeting and get some real clarity as to what you're going to do? Now, that money is going to come from the town. It's not coming from Hillside Lake, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. So why do you keep reverting back to the fact that it's a privately owned lake and blah, blah? So you're assuming some responsibility then, right?
Yes.
When
We
do you
always
want?
have.
Huh?
We always have as far
Well,
as the
when do you
stormwater.
want to when do you want to get some clarity on how much you're responsible for? Is this going to be another whole big ordeal to get clarity on what the town is responsible for?
I think we would have to have people take a look at it.
And how long is that going to take? Another 5
Well,
years,
well,
John? Well, what
excuse
have you been taking a look at all this time?
I think actually, if you want to talk about it, I mean, I think that as far as our stormwater system into Hillside Lake, we do, maintenance, we clean basins.
I'm not
we
talking
sweep.
about
No,
John.
no, no, no.
John,
If
you
just let
want to
me-
talk about that. I'm not
Okay.
talking about that. I'm talking about the damage that was done to the lake.
Okay. We're putting together a program to replace catch basins around the lake, the ones at the lake.
Still want to talk about catch basins.
And to remove the sediments at the mouths of the discharges around
That's
there.
preventing me from getting hit again. But what are you going to do about my car that got hit? What are you going to do about that? How are you going to fix that?
We're going to remove the silt that was deposited from our stormwater system.
And when might the people of Hillside Lake expect something like that to transpire?
I'd say in the next year.
Huh?
I'd say in the next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
And can we expect a meeting to know what's going to go on? How far you feel you're responsible for the damage?
I would, a meeting, I found that meetings can be a little bit, obviously, the last few meetings that we held with the Hillside Lake was a bit difficult, but certainly we will take a look and let the people know what the plans are.
So the $3 million that when we had the meetings at Van Wyck, that the people were under the impression that all the money had to come, I'm going to say all the money had to come out of their pocket. That was really not accurate, was it?
We will participate.
But I'm asking you a question. That wasn't accurate, was it? And that's why the people that didn't have the money, and you keep making mention that it wasn't productive.
That's actually where the issue came up, when the woman came up to the podium and said, well, how about your stormwater discharge? I looked at Councilwoman Walker, and I said, she has a good point there. We're responsible for that percentage that is our stormwater discharge.
Could you
That's
repeat
where it
that?
came up. That's where it came up.
What came up? I don't understand your point. What is
What
your
don't you
point?
understand?
What is your point? I said
Oh,
we
you
had
said-
a meeting.
you said-
Go
you
ahead.
said-
You want
you
me to
said that-
clarify?
Okay.
Do you want me? We had a meeting at
Yes,
Van
we did.
Wyck.
Let me
3 meetings.
clarify. Let me clarify.
Go ahead.
We gave 3 presentations on what we proposed on behalf of the
Right.
Hillside Lake District.
Right.
It was not very well received, obviously. But then during one of the people who came up to the podium, she said, what about your stormwater discharge? And I said, you know what, she's got a point there. And I said, well, I think we're responsible for that part of it, which is our stormwater discharge. And we agree with that. That's where that came from.
Okay. So the people that didn't want to vote, that you say that didn't vote or didn't want to have anything to do with it, they were under the impression that they would be responsible to take care of all of what went on with the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep making reference to that we had no interest in doing anything. Well, nobody had any interest in doing anything in that kind of proposal.
Okay.
Why don't you get a meeting together with the people for Hillside Lake again and let them know that the town is, I don't know how much responsible you are.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would say you're fully responsible because it's not usable to us.
Mm-hmm.
But technically I don't know. So why don't you have a meeting with the people of Hillside Lake and then tell them that you're responsible for this much and that's how much it's going to cost and here's what's left over. Now are you interested in putting some money into the lake? Instead of $3 million, maybe it's only $1 million.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Hallelujah.
I would just ask this, if I may. Tom, we've talked about this. Councilman Marinero, would you like to put together a focus group and research this and see what possibly the community in Hillside Lake would be interested in, as far as if the town should participate and what they would like to see done with their lake, and come back and we'll see what we can put together.
Yeah, John, let me add something to what you're saying because I'll use the expression, I think that you're putting the cart before the horse. And I'm going to use it again in a few minutes pertaining to something else. But that to me is sort of like putting things off. You need to come up with what you're responsible for. And let us know what you feel you're responsible for. And then get some input about that. And then the balance is going to be there as to how much it's going to take to make that lake what it should be. Is that fair?
I would say that's fair.
Okay, so we can be assured that you're going to come up with a figure with the amount of work or whatever, a scope of work that you're going to do for that lake?
We've discussed what the impact from the town was on the stormwater system. You know, our stormwater system is just a conveyance system. So it takes water from here to there. We don't put salt and sand in it. I mean, if somebody's doing work on their property without...
John,
if you just please let me finish, sir. Please let me finish.
Sorry.
We have a conveyance system. If somebody's doing work on their property, doing an addition or something, and they disturb it, and the dirt flows into our conveyance system, that's not ours. We own the conveyance system. That person's responsible for that dirt. It travels through our system to the lake. So we will determine what we're responsible for. Obviously, we do our sanding and our salting during the wintertime, our sweeping and our maintenance. Absolutely. But we only own a conveyance system. So when if you have oil, we don't have oil out there. You know what I mean? Or if you get a soapy discharge into the lake.
Well, the public has oil out there.
Yes.
And it's being introduced through your conveyance system.
All we have is a conveyance system for stormwater. We don't own the oil. We don't own that
John,
silt.
the bottom line is, when are you going to tell the people what you're responsible for? How you going to go about making that determination? And let's really start to wrap it up. Because it's just been going on and on and on. Can we get to that?
I think we can.
Huh?
I think we can.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. The other thing that I want to say is regarding the video photographer, I guess you call him or whatever. I'm not going to comment on the contract. I mean, on the amount of money. I'll leave that to you guys. But what I do think should be is that there ought to be a scope of work, guidelines that can't be deviated from, and a contract in that sense, so that there's nothing else that's going to come up, that nothing else that can go on, that the people know exactly what his scope of work is going to be, and that we got no favors coming, that's going to have to be paid for one way or another down the line? You're looking at me.
Pavers?
Well, I'm not gonna start going back on why I think it's wrong that we have the council people doing the spotlight on whatever. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm just telling you that if you got guidelines and a scope of work, now we know that that's what the parameters that he has to work within. So I think that a contract in that sense should be something that, you know, and again, I think you put the cart before the horse by doing it the other way.
Okay.
I've asked you about the speed limit in Hillside Lake. You know, to see what you could do to reduce it. It's a park district. Can you do anything to reduce it? A kid got hit by a car the other day in the development.
Tom, what do we do about reducing speed limits? What's the speed limit in Hillside Lake? 30, 35?
You know what? I
don't know. I just forget.
John, I asked the question. I put a lot of effort and time into calling the county, the DC. I'm asking you if you could do anything. Somebody got hit. He's still able to ride his bike. Before somebody gets killed there, whatever you could do, I think you ought to do it.
Why don't you let him answer?
Huh?
Let him answer. You keep cutting him off.
Well, I didn't cut him off. He's nodding that he's going to do something about it.
What's the speed limit, Tom?
I don't know what the speed limit is.
What's the speed limit in there, Cord? Do you know?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
30. 30 is the speed limit.
Huh?
30 is the speed limit, according to the police department in there.
I know that.
And you also know, Bob, we've talked about that for the town board to lower speed below 30, except for school zones, the town would have to make a petition, get permission from the Commissioner of Transportation.
I asked that that petition be presented or initiated or something.
Do you have
That's all.
do you have to have any,
Well,
reason?
normally when you submit it, you have to have an indication
That there's
as
an
to
issue.
what the, you know, just generalized things they don't usually follow. Usually have a little traffic study by a professional traffic person to do an evaluation. And then most towns do a little survey of the community and see if that's the desire of all the residents. Because there's speed and then there's perceived speed.
Well, like I said, kid got hit by a car. He's able to walk. He's able to ride his bike. He might not be that lucky the next time. And lowering the speed would, or to help your conscience to know that you did all you could to prevent anybody from getting hurt. All right? Thank you, John.
Good evening. My name is Bill. I'm a resident of the town of East Fishkill. I live over in Wikipedia, the bustling metropolis below south of 84. I just wanted to first say thank you to the police officers and congratulations on the promotions that they received. They keep our town safe and our community happy, and I just want to say thank you. I come home I just want to share something and then maybe make a suggestion. I come home every night from work and I crack open a beer, and I sit on the couch and I watch television. Sometimes I watch Deadliest Catch. Sometimes I watch other shows. Sometimes I watch the town board meetings. For the past 6 or 7 months, maybe more, I've heard from one particular community in this town, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I've noticed that a lot of those opinions and talks have been quite disruptive to this board and to the smooth running of these meetings. I don't think that a 10-minute, I timed it, a 10-minute to 14-minute discussion about what was just discussed is merited at this time of night, especially considering I have to wake up in the morning, as a lot of you do too. I would suggest respectfully to the town board that some kind of rule or guideline be recommended so that we can keep ideas and thoughts and opinions concise. I always go back to one of the greatest presidents, I think, Abraham Lincoln, spoke about the Gettysburg Address in under 2.5 minutes, conveyed a very, very, very complicated idea to American people that we're still using candlelight to read. And I don't think that 15 minutes talking about salt is productive. I would suggest that in order for those types of opinions and ideas to be hashed out, maybe it would be more constructive if people with those kind of concerns, if they feel as though those concerns have not been properly dealt with at a meeting like this, to maybe schedule something one-on-one. I know that I've had problems in the past and called up Mr. Hickman. I've called up Ms. Hooray here, and I've got my questions answered and my concerns met. I realize that it's maybe a complicated issue and there's a lot of emotion and a lot of opinions and a lot of history, and that's fine. But I would just think that maybe putting a little bit of a time limit on what we say here during a meeting would be constructive and helpful, and maybe bring some sort of a resolution to some issues that we have. Not only that, but when I'm sitting on the couch at night and wondering whether or not I'm speaking. You spoke for 15 minutes, I'm speaking. You spoke for 15 minutes? Spoke for 15 minutes?
Excuse me.
It's my turn.
Excuse me.
It's my turn. Thank you.
Let's maintain order. One thing we'd like to do is maintain order in the meeting. Please let the gentleman is speaking. Let him finish speaking, if you would.
I try not to. I'm merely suggesting that it might be intelligent and productive if we limit the podium, and grandstanding and speaking to a reasonable amount of time. So I can understand, after a long day at work, what's going on in my town and what my local government is doing. I think that's reasonable for me as a resident to request of my local government. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd just like to say that the gentleman just made...
Oh, you know what? You know what? Go right ahead. Let me tell you something. I turned and waited to see if anybody else had anything to say. I thought I was the last
excuse me.
one.
Excuse me. You do not address people. You address the board, or you do not address the audience. You're not here to discuss with the audience.
I actually turned and waited and thought everybody went. I have no problem waiting to be last.
Okay, what I would propose is if somebody else would like to speak, we'll let somebody else speak now.
Absolutely. I don't have a problem with that. And I present that somebody tries to make a problem
Please.
out of that.
One thing I would mention to the board that somebody has requested that we would look into possibly limiting the speaking time. So it's something, maybe if the board wants to give some thought, we can have a discussion about it another time, but it's been brought up, so, yes.
Thank you. My name is Marge Horton, and I have lived in this town for 34 years. That means I have come to many town board meetings. I've represented this town, or parts of the town, for 13 and a half years in the county legislature. At the county legislature and in the New York State Senate, we do have a time limit. We have an egg timer, 3 minutes, and your time is up. And you cannot speak until you sign in and say that you're speaking. I just suggest that maybe if it works in the New York State Senate and the Dutchess County Legislature, maybe it could work here. But I am not on the town board. I can't make that decision. What I would like to talk about, since it's been spoken about before, and we started the meeting with Supervisor Hickman telling us about Julie's Jungle, I was out today, and I met the woman that Mrs. Moran spoke about, whose granddaughter is 4, using a walker. She had pictures of that beautiful baby in her place of business. And I am very proud that we have volunteers that are able to do something like this. I have meetings that I have to go to throughout the county. And it doesn't matter what meeting I'm at, but the East Fishkill Recreation Department, the East Fishkill Police Department, and the beginning of Julie's Jungle is always spoken about, always, because people are envious of what we do down here, and people are so thrilled that a group of volunteers were able to get this started. So I would like to say to each and every one of those volunteers and to each and every person that I saw put money in that jar that Mrs. Moran was talking about at Community Day, and hopefully I will see people doing that again on our next Community Day in September, because without all of us working together and asking our police department, please protect us, guard our children from this horrible drug problem that is throughout the county, and I could probably say throughout the country. But we're doing something about it here. And we get things accomplished because we all work together. We speak in rational tones. We don't accuse anybody of doing things. We say, hey, maybe we could do this, or gee, maybe we need this, and we get things done. I saw things done in the county that way. I've seen things done in this town that way, and I have witnessed things being done in different schools that I have worked in or worked at in this district. Yeah. So maybe we need to just take a breath and all try to work together and pat ourselves on the back, because we're smart enough to live in this town, and a lot of us are volunteering and working in or for this town. And so I would like to say thank you to our town board and our town supervisor, our town attorney, our controller, our engineer, and of course the fantastic town clerk, because together we get things done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Hi, I'm a resident of East Fishkill since 1967. I want to know, is my taxpayer money going to pay for that community? That used to be a private organization, had a private lake that nobody could have gone and fished or anything. It was only for Hillside Lake. Okay? I'm sick and tired of these gentlemen coming up here demanding stuff that the town has 30,000 people, and what is their community? Maybe 500 or 1,000? How about the other 29,000 members of the East Fishkill, the residents? Don't we have anything to say? We always got to listen to this garbage. And that's what it is, because it's constantly ridiculing the board, okay? It's never given any compliments. They were a private organization. They had an association there for years. I've been up here when that lake was perfectly clear, and they deteriorated and never did anything to repair it. Now they want us, as East Fishkill taxpayers, to pay for it. Well, my recommendation is, I think we should clean that lake, but whoever lives in that lake should pay for it. Hike up their taxes, their residential taxes, to clean their lake, okay? You could do the same thing on our roads in Stormville and everything else. You sand, you salt, you keep the roads clear so the people can access the roads and go places and go to work, back and forth. I'm tired of one community taking over this meeting constantly. It's not fair to everybody, and that young gentleman who said the 3-minute egg timer or 5-minute egg timer would be recommended. Okay. I thank you for the rest of the residents of the East Fishkill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
First, I would like to, each and every one of you, to answer that gentleman's question as to why East Fishkill would be contributing, the town of East Fishkill would be contributing to cleaning up the lake.
The board is not going to answer questions. The board
Okay.
will not answer
Well,
questions
okay.
individually.
Well,
Thank
then, well,
You
the
can-
board didn't
you
answer
would
his
like to make
question. It's not my
comments?
question, it's his question. Okay? But to educate him a little bit on some of the background and the deterioration of Hillside Lake, yeah, it is, or once was, a private lake, but there are, in fact, as Mr. Hickman had indicated, there's 9 discharges that go into it. And I, with all due respect, need to correct you. Once the oil, sediment, and/or salt go into that stormwater conveyance system, it is the town's. And it's an MS4 regulated 303 impaired water body. So any contribution of that into that already impaired water body is in fact a violation. I'd be happy to educate the gentleman as to the why of all of that. Furthermore, as far as having meetings aside from presenting it here, I sent an email to the entire board and the town engineer, Scott Bryant. I got 2 replies. I discussed it with Scott one-on-one, but I got 2 replies from the town board, Manny and Tom Franco. And in that email, it has a single picture that depicts the sedimentation flowing into the lake approximately 100, 150 feet from a single event. And in that email, I also asked, please tell me where the end of that sedimentation that's introduced into Hillside Lake via the town of East Fishkill stormwater conveyance system, where the end of your responsibility of that sediment is. That email continued with not my words, but wording from approximately a 98-page PDF that's available on the website by Renewage, the company that the town hired to potentially do a stormwater management program in Hillside Lake. And that, on page 96 of that PDF, it outlines evolution and the damage that sediment does. And as I had said at the previous meeting, that sedimentation has killed off that lake, and it has exponentially continued evolving, damaging that lake as the vegetation died off and grew each year. It then created a greater amount of sedimentation in the floor of the lake. So it's a constant cycle of what's going on. And those are the words of a professional, not mine. And all of you have that available to you. All you got to do is click on the website that I emailed to you. Thank you.
I would just like to say, in response to that, I would just like to let the record show that when you discuss, we're discussing, I'd just like to put things into perspective, that obviously Renewage was pursuing a $1.4 million grant to address stormwater. So anything in their report would have to do with stormwater. Obviously, they're engineers, but they were definitely, looking at the siltation as being their issue. I mean, if you want to, get a grant for $1.4 million, you have to, provide that type of substantiation. We did have a Hillside Lake study done previously in 2008 from Great Ecology and Environment, and they had described the issues with the lake as being, although they did talk about, they agreed with the DEC description of the lake as being impacted by septics and urban runoff. Urban runoff actually does include, obviously, the stormwater runoff from the lake, from the stormwater discharges, but it does also include other runoff, which is noted as urban runoff. So I'd just like to point out that the Renewage was actually a report that was done to get a grant for stormwater siltation issues, which we do agree are a problem, and that is our problem. But I would just like to say that also the GEE report also looks at, and they look at it as being also inclusive of some other matters. So I just wanted to make that point for the record.
Supervisor? Yeah, can I just add, we had a meeting this week with some residents from Hillside Lake, and it was pointed out to me that a report that was done by Eco Solutions did a projection of how much sediment came to the lake that
the gentleman brought to the meeting and brought to my attention, in that it was 26,000 pounds a year of sediment, which was the estimate. That equates to, you can do the math, about 10 tons of maybe 10 and a quarter tons or something like that, which further breaks down to probably less than 10 yards a year based on that report, which you brought to my attention. So as a starting point anyway, we do have a document on file that was brought to our attention.
Okay,
It
well,
said
that's
we're talking
good.
about
Now
10
it'll be a
yards.
starting point. We can
And
go
if you
from
go
there.
back 20 years, we did the math, it's 200 yards, 400 yards. Now, I'm sure it's more than that, but it's a starting point.
Yeah, it's a starting point, so we can work from there. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments on public?
Hey, John,
Public comments on general town issue? Just one second, sir. Is there anybody
Yeah.
else who would like to speak? I'll speak after Bobby. I'd rather have all the speakers first, and then when we do our second round, if you wouldn't mind.
Is that all right with you?
No, I'd actually like to go around, have everybody speak once, and then come back.
John, I'll say it again.
You
I
asked
have
me.
no, I looked
Yeah, no, you were
back
good.
3 or 4 times to see if anybody had anything to say.
Yeah, no, you were good.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I welcome anybody.
I'm not
to
here to
come.
argue,
I have
I
no
just-
problem staying here till 12 o'clock at night to say what I have to say. I wait a long time to say
No,
what I
I
have to
understand
say.
that. I'm
Okay?
just saying, I'd like to take all the speakers first. and then
Absolutely.
start
Well,
with the
go ahead,
second one.
ask the question.
If you wouldn't mind.
Can we break out in a session of kumbaya, please? I want to point out one thing that's, well, it should be on every town agenda, but it hasn't. There's been some voids. And the last item on the town agenda is always, or should always be, public comment on general town issues. Therefore, all town issues that people are concerned with have been handled at that point. So the rest is exactly what it says, comment on general town issues. On that note, to the gentleman who sits in front of his TV and watches a town board meeting and is not entertained enough by Hillside Lake, it's a free country, change the channel. If you don't like what you're seeing, you have the freedom to change the channel. To the gentleman who came up and basically showed us how uninformed he was, I think maybe you should go back and watch all the videos and educate yourself on what's going on in Hillside Lake. And as I said to everyone else who has a concern as to why we're up here speaking about Hillside Lake for the past 3 years, ask yourself the question, why are we up here speaking about Hillside Lake for the past 3 years? Because something that should be getting done is not getting done. And we're not asking for the whole town of East Fishkill to pay for it. We're asking to pay for our private portion. We're asking for the town of East Fishkill to pay what their elected officials have let happen. Period. Thank you.
Anybody else to speak? Okay. Would you like to speak? Yes, Bob, if you would. Thank you.
John, do you think that anybody from Hillside Lake is here to grandstand? Do you think that?
Yes.
I'd reserve.
Honestly.
I would reserve my
Okay,
thoughts on that.
and you're entitled to that. Let me make it clear for those people that think we're here to grandstand or we like the camera or whatever the case is. That is not our goal here. I have other things that I would rather be doing. If we didn't come here and voice our opinion the way we do, and we had those 3 minutes, and I guess that's the way it works with 3 minutes, this would have went on for another 20 years. So fortunately, before you guys put the time clock in, we had a little bit of a time to get our conversation in and get our point across. So if you feel that we're here to grandstand, make no mistake about it. None of us here want to be doing this. For the public that thinks that we want to be doing, this is that we come here every month to try to prove our point to you, to the public, and get what we deserve, and that's it. And I could be home resting.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor, have we heard a motion?
Excuse me, motion to adjourn?
I have one more question. It's actually a legal question. Does the town clerk have the right to motion for adjourn?
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I wanted to make a comment, if it's possible.
I asked the
Sure.
question of the board. Are you ignoring my
Excuse
question
me,
completely?
you can make a comment, it's under general comments. Somebody requested that we would adjourn, it's getting a little bit late.
Okay, my
I don't see
comment is,
anything
I
wrong
don't
with
believe
that.
the town clerk has the authority to motion to adjourn.
And your comment is duly noted.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilman, you'd like to make a statement?
I'm just going to make a short statement. I know it's getting late. I just want to apologize to the community for what's going on. But some of these comments are important. And for the longest time, they have not been heard. When people make a statement that we are not responsible for the whole town, it makes me think, we are a town, we are East Fishkill. We all pay taxes together to do the work for East Fishkill. This community pays taxes, and they pay extra taxes to address certain things in their community. And at the last meeting, we clarified certain things that were not clear to some members of the board, that some issues have been neglected for a long time. I don't want to see what's going on in this community the way it's going on. But I also will make a suggestion that my colleagues, we work together to solve this issue. I am very much against raising taxes on anybody. I want to make that clear. And I don't want to see anybody pay more tax than anybody else. But at the same time, I think we are here to represent the whole town of East Fishkill. There is no east side, west side, north and south. We are one community that has to work together. I don't want to see what's going on here tonight, because this is going to have ramification in our community. So please, let's work together. Our leaders in the community, let's work together. And maybe we could improve the morale and the relationship, and we could say hello to each other in the street rather than making funny faces. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, for that statement. Very good. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So ruled.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.